Hello and welcome. My name is Heather Williams, and today I'm going to discuss the impacts of social media on adolescent development in the life cycle. This project is part of the Social Work 506 course on human behavior in the social environment with families, individuals, and groups. Adolescence is the time of life between 11 and 24 years old and is the transition between childhood and adulthood. Biological changes include the onset of puberty, such as hormonal changes and the development of secondary sex traits. The development of abstract thinking undergirds psychological changes during this time, as adolescents begin to develop their sense of self and their identity. Socially, this is a time where significant importance is placed on peer groups, and romantic relationships may be explored for the first time. This developmental stage is significant, as teens may often explore their boundaries and may experiment with sex and substances without fully understanding the risks they are undertaking. Erik Erikson, a proponent of psychodynamic theory, says that conflicts related to a young person's developing sense of identity and the roles they have previously inhabited with their families often emerge at this time. Peer groups become the primary social structures that allow young people to do this and explore these parts of themselves. Piaget also notes that adolescence kicks off the formal operational stage of cognitive development and highlights their maturing brain by demonstrating their use of logical thought and abstract thinking. It's important to remember that these frameworks signal the beginning of this development, not the mastery of these skills. Due to this, experimentation highlights the adolescent life stage as young people are working out where and how they fit in. Social media can be defined as any computer or web-based networking technology that connects people globally. Applications such as Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook are just a few of the networking sites that people of all ages have access to. Due to the ubiquitousness of smartphones, social media users are connected to social groups and one another like never before. An area of particular concern for youth workers and families raising adolescents are the effects that social media may be having on the psychological and social development of young people. Conrad et al. Argue that due to the brain's extreme plasticity in adolescence, young people are likely to be highly influenceable at this stage of life. This, coupled with global connectivity that social media provides, is cause for concerns as teens could access information that could potentially harm them or lead to negative consequences. Another point of concern for many caregivers is the amount of access that child predators might have to their adolescents. Recent studies have found, however, that young people are more likely to pressure one another to send sexually explicit images or media, also known as sexting, than being targeted in this way by adults. This is concerning because many young people are not aware of the risk that sending and receiving such media can be, especially in states that have stringent sex offender laws. Nor may they be aware of how long these images can exist in a virtual space online. While all of these concerns are valid, researchers at the Pew Center for Research found that teens self-reported mixed attitudes about the ways that social media impacted their lives. 31% of youth viewed social media as a mostly positive experience, which allowed them to connect with friends and family who were far away, or by finding others who shared their interests. On the other end of the spectrum, however, 24% of youth reported to view social media as all negative, suggesting that it enabled bullying behaviors and impacted their self-image negatively. The majority of youth, however, reported that social media exerted both positive and negative impacts on their lives, but that one didn't necessarily outweigh the other. This highlights the role that social media plays, as other technologies does. As with all technology, social media isn't inherently good or bad. It's all in how it is utilized by people. In 2019, the Centers for Disease Control reported that 1 in 3 high school students had shared feeling prolonged sadness or hopelessness. These findings also revealed that feelings were very common reported among socially marginalized groups such as LGBTQ young people and female-identified students. To add to this concerning trend, 1 in 6 youth reported making a suicide plan in the last year. This is a 44% increase from the decade prior. Once again, these numbers were higher for LGBTQ youth compared to heterosexual and cisgender adolescents. The CDC recommends more social connectivity and supports for youth dealing with emotional distress and social isolation. This can be in the form of student support groups, such as gay-straight alliances, and this is where social media can be a boon. The COVID-19 pandemic has complicated the social landscape for all ages, but adolescents have particularly felt this hard as their reliance on peer groups for support has diminished in light of public health concerns. The Lurie Children's Hospital recently surveyed parents and caregivers of adolescents at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and found that adolescent social media use had increased by 63%. Parents and guardians shared that this increase was likely due to lack of in-person social interactions for teens. In this way, social media has helped to alleviate some of the mental and emotional pressure that the pandemic has created and allowed adolescents to remain connected, even while socially distant. Viewing social media through a strengths-based lens, these various networking technologies provide unique opportunities to educate and reach young people like never before. Researchers have found that social media platforms allow public health workers and advocates to discuss once taboo topics like sexual health education in a safe, stigma-free environment. They are also able to engage with young people around topics such as access to health care and the Affordable Care Act thanks to social media. Additionally, social media has proven to be beneficial to LGBTQ adolescents who may not have access to safe social groups that affirm their sexual and gender identities in their hometowns. Digital social media-based programs run by LGBTQ nonprofits, such as Q Chat Space, allow lesbian, gay, and trans teens to socialize virtually in an environment that is run by trained, caring professionals, while they may be separated by hundreds of miles. Researchers Fox and Rolston also found that traditional media, such as movies and television, do not typically provide healthy or accurate role models for LGBTQ youth. Thanks to the blossoming of peer-created content on social media, LGBTQ teens are able to see other gay and transgender people in a positive light. Social media presents several ethical concerns for social workers as they interact with their clients. The most common dilemma with social media lies in the fact that so many people use it. Social workers are no different in this aspect, and many social workers utilize social media in their personal lives. This is a concern, however, because the National Association of Social Workers cites dual relationships between clients and their social work providers as an ethical dilemma to be avoided. The use of social media might present a situation where social workers need to express firm professional boundaries by not befriending clients on their personal profiles. If a social worker were to access a client's personal social media data, this could also be a breach of informed consent, as well as a violation of the client's privacy and confidentiality. As social media intensifies personal interactions, it might also present situations where mandatory reporting is required by social workers, as cases of cyberbullying and sexting can often cause harm to clients or those in the client's life. This would necessitate a strong understanding of ethical and reporting standards for social workers, and that social workers remain vigilant to possible breaches of ethical standards of practice in relation to social media use. The take-home message for social work professionals working with adolescent clients is that social media isn't all good or all bad. As with other modes of technology and human interaction, it is how we engage with social media that create these outcomes. In this way, it is important for social workers engaged in family practice to facilitate conversations with parents and caregivers of adolescents so they better understand the roles that they have in interpreting the risks and rewards of social media use with their teens. Parents and those raising adolescents help to set the boundaries for teens' use of social media, and that includes having open and frank discussions about what young people encounter online. Since social media is widely used by a variety of ages, trusted adults can set the tone for how youth engage with social media. They're not powerless in the face of new or emerging technology, and it's a social worker's responsibility to help parents and caregivers understand this. As with all forms of media and social expression, social media can be a critical tool for social workers to understand the environments that their clients exist within and remain culturally competent. Social media is a mirror, and professional social workers must be attuned to how it reflects existing social good or ills in our communities. In closing, I hope that you found this presentation informational and enjoyable. Thank you so much for your time. In the meantime, be well. Have a good day.